Welcome back. Obviously, I'm somewhat possessed of rising and falling this week and buoyancy and lift and airplanes and pilots. So let's see where that goes today. Your modern jetliners, personally, I'm completely fascinated with flight, probably because it's scared me to death my whole life. And um, it's something it's a real area of growth and potential expansion for me. A few months ago, I went on a small plane trip with the husband of a student of mine, and had the best time in a little plane, bouncing around. And I would like to become a pilot one day and face my biggest fear. But anyway, it's I guess what's so unusual for me about flying, and I guess everybody's different, but it seems very strange to be up in the sky floating around and there's nothing holding you up, except there is something holding you up. It's called science. And mankind did not discover the principles of successful flight until relatively recently, right? Even in 1898, a couple of years before the Wright brothers went up, Professor Langley of the Smithsonian Institute, his he was funded by all the biggest institutional donors that there were at the time to build a flying craft, and his crashed right into the Potomac and killed him. And there were those who said that men would never fly, but it was simply a principle that hadn't been discovered yet. But the Wright brothers, simple bicycle mechanics who were not formally trained or educated, but had terrific common sense skills. But mostly, you know what they had? They had the passion. They had the passion and the will, and they just knew that no matter what problem they encountered, that they could overcome it with their vision, passion, and ingenuity and learn how to do it. So they came up with a couple of the most essential insights, which is the wing had to be a particular shape, and the wings had to be able to twist like bird wings. And so this was their great insight. They realized they needed a really windy place, so they went to North Carolina, where the wind was always blowing, and poof, off they went. They discovered it. And in the ensuing 120 years, it's amazing how far we've come. But the reason I bring this up is that if you look at a modern jetliner sitting at the airport, they're really crappy on the ground. It's like a truck has to kind of pull them in sometimes or push them back out. And when they're driving around on the taxiways, they're big and clunky, and they don't move very well, and they have to be extremely careful and just drive a couple of miles an hour as they're on the ground. But man, you put some momentum, you get their momentum going and get some air moving over the wing, they can't not take off. And that's the principle that I'm learning in my own understanding, is that there is something. If we get enough momentum and we're angled properly, we will lift. We will go uppity, uppity, up. And so that's what we're doing in our spiritual work. We're getting enough momentum of our thought, of our actions, of our belief, of our intention, of our passion. And as we move forward with sufficient momentum, we continue to rise. And then we are the glorious spiritual beings we are meant to be. It would be a shame if a Boeing 737 could only drive around on the ground. You know, imagine a bunch of those on the freeway all crammed in. That's what we human beings are. We're a bunch of potential spiritual beings, but we've consigned ourselves to the ground, and one of our greatest faculties, spiritual flight, is left dormant. It's left undeveloped. But not for those who choose and develop the sufficient spiritual work, energy, and momentum. And as we do that, we will rise up higher. We might stall from time to time. We might be in danger, but if we keep our spiritual momentum going, we'll have the two most valuable things every pilot wants. They want altitude and airspeed. So every day that we meditate, we gain more altitude and more airspeed. And no matter what happens, we might sink from time to time, but we'll never have to drop so far that we'll be in danger because we know the principles that will always lift us up. So I hope this has made some kind of sense or stimulated some understanding that you are a flying being and we're not consigned to the ground anymore. It's time to rise up. I'll see you tomorrow.